book/1980s version. Good example of a need-heavy INFP. Ann with an E first season. Example of need-heavy INFP. I still think she was a clear INFP in the first season. She wasn't a ENFP in the first season, which is why funky MBTI typed her INFP intly. Ann with an E second season and beyond. Good example of a 5 heavy ENFP. Very clear need Ann. Heck, she was so neat she may even be a 7W6 LEL. What ITHMK happened is that I actually think she was the INFP 100% in the first season, but by the second season they went with the ENFP route for her character. I wrote a comment on the 1980s version of her character, which I think is more true to the spirit of Ann. I felt a strong connection with Ann in the first season, but by TBE second season it was clear they were writing her need on. But as someone pointed out, I think she was fine E/INFP in the first season. The second season felt less aesthetic to me than the first. What we see in the 1980s version of Ann, and why some people think she's a ENFP, is because she's a INFP who's really healthy and developed her interior functions, which I think trips people up. When given the chance, INFPs are really hardworking and tend to excel at school in a healthy environment, in a way, more than the NFPs who may sometimes be more productive, but not as dedicated, 1980s version is way more stubborn and intense than this version, which sounds like it could be T, but it's not. It's Infp. In reality, a ENFP would be far more objective, and potentially fair-loving, but probably still hold a grudge. And with a need does not seem to struggle with Infp in the same way that 1980s/book Ann does. The outbursts in the first season does. I still think she was the INFP in the first season, but by the second season Infp seems more of the struggle. If only watched to the second season and some of the third. I think in the book she's an INFP, but I could be wrong. It's been years since I've read it. But in this series, she is definitely an ENFP. ENFP because she has this innate desire to be liked, almost coming across as shallow and superficial, like other ENFPs, Michael Scott for example. She's always looking for interactions within her community/world. Extrovert. Very dreamy with otherworldly ideas without taking into account obstacles or barriers. Always looking to break through and become revolutionary. Intuitive. She's very much a feeler and makes decisions based on how she feels rather than taking the logical approach, feeling. She's very malleable and adaptive, can be chaotic at times, perceiver. I agree that Ann has extremely potent thigh, but I feel that her extroverted functions are so much more prominent than a typical introvert, which is why I tend towards ENFP for Ann in this show. In the novel, Ann is the epitome of an INFP, dreamy, imaginative, heartfelt, poetic, sentimental. It's why I felt such an eternal connection to the story in the first place. But in the show, she strikes me as more a fizzling firework of never-ending ideas. The dazzling lights hold the poetic beauty and depth of Phi, but their vigor and intensity shimmers with an E sparked by T. Ann is constantly driven by possibilities and seeks engagement in the outer world. When Miss Stacy comes to town, her Phi causes her to long connection, but her knee and T spill, causing her to gossip and her tongue to explode. It just doesn't seem very INFP at all to me. A lot of what makes her seem Phi dominant, in my opinion, is that season 1 draws from the novel, so it carries a lot of the INFP Ann's essence. But bridging into seasons 2 and 3, I see this neaty energy carrying her throughout. I'm pretty sure she's just an INFP who become kinda social despite her traumas. I mean, I'm sure she's not a neat Ann, because people appreciate her only after they get to know her. In the first season, I thought she was an INFP because she reacted so strongly emotion-wise, which led me to perceive her as Phi-Dom. However, as I watched the following seasons, it became clearer and clearer to me that she is an ENFP and is too out there. Constant in need of friends and stimulation. Sure, INFPs are talkative, but it depends on the situation, environment, and how comfortable they are. Ann, on the other hand, is consistently talkative and openly has tea, even with strangers. She loves speaking up in class even at the risk of public humiliation and embarrassment. She's driven by me first, which makes sense because Emmy herself is an ENFP and a lot of her own attitude transfers to the character she plays. I act exactly like Ann, but I'm nowhere near an ENFP. I'm an INFP full-heartedly. Even the official 16 personalities website states her as an INFP. Sweet summer child. You have much to learn if you're relying on 16 personalities of all sites for accurate information. She's definitely not an ENFP or good fates. Just because she talks non-stop, it does not mean she's an extrovert. I act exactly like Ann, but I'm nowhere near an ENFP. I'm an INFP full-heartedly. Even the official 16 personalities website states her as an INFP and also clearly shows that her dominant function is Phi. She is very developed with her T as well, clearly. But she's definitely not as bubbly or optimistic as ENFPs. She feels things incredibly deeply and is far dramatic when expressing her emotions. ENFPs just do things positively of that. She's also extremely poetic by nature. Not that ENFPs aren't poetic, but INFPs think and observe rather than just following through without a thought on the matter. Anyways, these are just my thoughts. Hey, don't attack me, please. Oh no, no. She is not an ENFP. I am an ENFPT, and I know for a fact she is not one. Do your guys' research. ENFPs would never be so bold as how Ann Shirley, not like her. 3XDS, we can be emotional, but not like her. We are fun-loving people, and wouldn't have the guts to keep a wall of hatred towards a guy who flirts with us. Anything to do with this Ann, BAM, you hit a wall of intense Phi. Doesn't matter that she's strong-willed. Doesn't matter she talks constantly. Doesn't matter that she can talk to strangers or tries to sell poems in the train station. None of that means she's a cognitive extrovert. Introverts can be chatty and forward and strong-willed too. Phi encounters anything in Juan, judgment. That's how you can tell judging dominance. Swift judgments, sometimes, often, before they've collected alternate perspectives or explanations. Hello, Ann. Ann is 100% Phi, all the time. ENFP is not 100% Phi all the time. 100% Ni all the time. Phi most of the time. But even then, they can lead with Ni/T and ignore their feelings. Can you see Ann doing that? Or does her emotions, her need to be true to herself, to be seen as an individual, to prove herself, drive every single reaction she has to everyone, from Jerry to Gilbert? I'd say so. I'd say she's the best example I've seen of an INFP in decades. I love her, my little snowflake firebird.